Welcome all those in attendance today to the Board of Public Works and Safety meeting held here at the George Keller Public Assembly Room in the Lawrence Governmental Center. This is July 8th, 2021, and our meeting will begin here at 5 p.m. I am calling the meeting to order, and let the record reflect there is a quorum to do business today. And the first item on our agenda before the board would be the minutes of the regular meeting held on June 24th, 2021. Are there any corrections or omissions to those minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
By Mr. Clark. Is there a second?
Second.
By Mrs. Browner. Questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries 3-0, so those minutes are approved. We do have unfinished business before the board today, and the first item is A, the acceptance of proposal for towing and recovery services. That was tabled last meeting by the board, and so at this time I would make a motion to remove this item from the untabled category to the unfinished business category. So is there a motion to untable this?
Motion to untable.
By Mr. Clark. Is there a second?
Second.
By Mrs. Browner. Questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Officially, we are going to now look at item A, acceptance of the proposal for towing and recovery services. I would like to begin the meeting with our city legal, Caitlin, and our city engineer. And I believe, Caitlin, you're going to lead off with some of the questions that were brought before the board at our last meeting and maybe clear up a few things for the board.
Sure. So the big issue at the last meeting, which wasn't really contained in the RFP itself, was the issue of correct zoning. I'm sure you will go into some more details, specifics of zoning, but I come down to, I think what was being said and brought up at the meeting is kind of the difference between being zoned I-2 or I-4. So in an I-2 zoning, which ZORS, which was specifically mentioned, is zoned that way. They are permitted to do automobile and vehicle storage or auction. Now, I sent everyone the relevant definitions from the code, but this means keeping operable or temporarily inoperable towed vehicles, automobiles, trucks, buses, etc., in an impound yard or storage area, and may include related towing, recovery, repossession, or auction sale services. This does not include wrecking or salvage facilities, parking garages, etc. So to be a wrecking or salvage facility, you have to be zoned I-4 or have an exception. So that's what I think what was being brought up. That includes a service in which towing or emergency services are provided to disabled automotive vehicles or equipment. This is things such as junk or salvage storage or operation, vehicle wrecking and salvage operation, shredders, and things of the like. Shree will go into more detail about that, but I did send around a few other notes looking at proposals and details. We did not see, we did not get executed E-Verify form from Interstate, but they did provide they did provide proof of passage of a knowledge test, but not execution of the actual document. And then with Lawrence Towing, looking through there, I did not see the financial position, location of storage yard, or a description of the retrieval process, and those things were mentioned in the RFP as well. So Shree can go more into the zoning issue.
Shree?
So I looked at the zoning from my standpoint and for what Marion County zoning ordinance says. And just like Caitlin said, the definition of what I-2 stands for, in my opinion, is enough for a towing facility. We went back and forth about the definitions, and in my opinion is all you need for a towing facility is an I-2 zone. And if it is an I-4 zone, that's well and good. That helps you with the wrecking of that. But I don't think in this scenario we are looking at any wrecking or any salvage. We are just towing operable or inoperable, temporary inoperable vehicles back to the towing yard to the LPD. So I know all of the other sources. I recommended one from Chief So in my opinion, they are zoned correctly. And that also means that the other, few of the other ones are also zoned correctly for temporary storage and towing either through the current zoning or through the variances they obtained in the past years. So that's pretty much all I have on the zoning. In my opinion, they are zoned correctly, so.
Thank you. For the board, any questions for city legal or city engineer?
I think they brought up a couple of things like restroom and capacity. All those things they weren't a concern for me, but.
I think,
brought that
I
up.
think my opinion is like, I haven't seen the RFP in detail. I was looking at the zoning side of that. So I don't know if Kurt, you want to talk about anything that you see that was missing or?
No, I didn't see anything else that was missing.
Okay.
There was an operable bathroom in back of one of the storage, on the property of Zors. They also had a porta potty on the outside of the building as well that would be for the public. I did not see public access at the other location. They still had to go through a door, behind that, but they didn't have proper,
I just remember that was brought up, yeah.
I don't know of a towing company that lets you in anywhere. You
And
gotta pay at the window and go.
Go.
I mean,
in addition to that, I think they went above and beyond by doing the site visits. I think the RFP does say if it comes about that a law is being broken, we can terminate the contract. I don't necessarily know if we need to go inspect every place thoroughly. It's great that you guys did, but I don't think that's 100% necessary. And we do have options going forward if something pops up.
Okay.
Thank you.
And just like Caitlin had, a few of the other ones, they are missing some documentation that was requested in the RFP, like financials and stuff like that too. So that should be taken into consideration too.
Correct. Any other questions? Okay, at this time, I'd like Chief Hoffman to come forward and make his recommendation to the board for the proposal for towing and recovery for the city of Lawrence.
One thing I would like to follow up on from the last meeting, you may recall, there was an idea introduced about entering into maybe a round-robin multi-vendor scenario, and I was open to that. I didn't know a lot about it, how it worked, if it was within the, if it was even appropriate, really, to discuss it. But since that meeting, I've had the opportunity to do a little bit of research specific to the city of Lawrence. Going back historically, there have been times where the city entered into agreements with multiple vendors, and I've got a few points here that I've noted after speaking to a lot of veteran officers with the Lawrence Police Department that remember those days. And in general, it was not well received. It did not seem to work. And specifically, some of the comments that I got that led me to believe that maybe it won't work now is that it was very difficult for dispatchers and officers to keep track of who's up next. In other words, who should be the next vendor in order for the business to be fairly, equitably distributed among multiple vendors. It was difficult to keep track, and therefore it led to some unfairness, and it led to some hard feelings, quite frankly, among the vendors who felt like they weren't getting their fair share of the pie, right? Officers in the field experienced conflict many times when different vendors would arrive on the scene of multi-vehicle accidents, for example, and sometimes arguments would erupt, and that's the last thing I want my officers currently to experience. Keeping track of multiple locations where vehicles are towed to was a challenge in the past, and I don't see that would be any different now. In other words, if you're involved in a motor vehicle accident, you're a Lawrence resident, and you ask the officer, "Where's my car going?" Well, maybe the officer might answer thinking one thing, and actually the vehicle goes to, so it was just very confusing. And in some cases where Lawrence residents' vehicles went off-site out of the city, the department received complaints that our residents don't really like driving to the other side of town to pick up a car. And finally, without a single point of contact, in other words, we pick one vendor, and that is, the buck stops with them in all towing cases. It got diluted. It got confusing, and you know, it was, I think confusing is just probably the best word that describes a multi-vendor type of a scenario. And these are all points that I was unaware of 2 weeks ago today, as I stood here before you. As I said, in the presence of many vendors, I said I was open to that, and I had follow-up conversations with them about that. And now my position is, after doing a little bit of research and educating myself on it, that a single point of contact, a single vendor, will be the best solution for the city of Lawrence. Now, going back to 2 weeks ago when I stood before you, we did make a recommendation that Zors was the most appropriate, well-suited. We felt like they would be the best to handle our towing needs now and in the future. And I do stand behind that recommendation at this point today.
Questions for the chief? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve Zors for towing and recovery for the city of Lawrence?
Motion to approve Zors as,
Is there a second?
Second?
By Mrs. Browner. That's by Mr. Clark on the motion. Second by Mrs. Browner. Questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Chief. Zors will, I forgot what the length of time is that contract?
2 years.
2 years, okay.
And I'll need to, most of the contract language is in there, but I can get something together that's more formal that they can actually enter into for you guys to execute.
Very good, thank you. We, again, are going to not entertain item B on unfinished business. And we go directly to new business, which is approval of resolution number 12, 2021, disposal of surplus equipment for our street department. And I think, Jim, want to make any comments about it, or not really? We have the list. Does anybody have any questions on the, dealt with this many times. Is there a motion to approve resolution 12?
motion to approve.
By Mr. Clark, is there a second?
Second?
By Mrs. Browner. Questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Jim. Acceptance of agreement for stormwater, this is item B, stormwater construction, sediment, and erosion control inspection testing services for Silver Stream Section 1. Shree, do you have any?
So Silver Stream Section 1 is a new subdivision that's being built by Arbor Homes, and this is just a formal agreement that says that we have a third party coming in to inspect the storm system as it's being installed, and that they will pay those fees
So if the
back
board,
to the city.
if the board remembers, a couple of meetings ago, I brought a contract with Structure Point to do inspection for third-party developments.
Correct.
So that was a contract with us and Structure Point. So this is the contract with us and Silver Stream to use Structure Point to do that inspection.
Questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the agreement for stormwater construction with Silver Stream?
Motion to approve.
By Mr. Clark, is there a second?
Second?
By Mrs. Browner. Questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. Item C then is an acceptance of agreement for street construction, inspection, and testing services.
So this is the street side of that. The last one was the stormwater side of that. So there's an agreement between us and the developer that we'll use a third-party consultant to do the inspection, and that third party will be Structure Point, the pre-established rate, and it will be billed back to the developer.
Okay, questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the acceptance agreement for inspection and testing services?
Motion to approve.
By Mr. Clark, is there a second?
Second?
By Mrs. Browner. Are there questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 3-0. Item D before us is the recommendation for the bid award for 2021 resurfacing. I think we received information on that, but if you want to.
So I just wanted to clarify the item itself. Like we did last time, I'm asking the board to approve the recommendation and also enter into a contract with Midwest Paving so we don't have to come back to the board for a second time. That's how we did it last year. So the agenda item will have to reflect that it is approve a recommendation and also enter into a contract. So this is part of the community crossing grants we got this year. We got funded we got funded for $85,449, which is supposed to be a 50% for paving Oak Landon Road from the railroad track to Pendleton Pike. So the bids were opened. I think it was last week. We got 4 bids. All of them were a little bit over the engineer's estimate, and Midwest Paving was the lowest responsible bidder. They were 7% over the engineer's estimate. So the total dollar amount for Midwest Paving is $190,795.20. So INDOT will be paying us $85,449 for their portion, and rest will be from our match that we set aside. So I'm asking the board to approve the recommendation to award the contract to Midwest Paving for the not to exceed amount of $190,795.20, and also to enter into a contract with Midwest Paving. The contract is also included in the board package.
Okay, having heard comments from city engineer, any questions for Sri?
Does that include the railroad tracks?
No, I think that's I talked to the mayor about that, and we are actively pursuing CSX to do something. So now, since the south side is done, north side is done, we'll have to.
In between.
Yeah, now unfortunately, we can't do anything without their permission, and we are actively pursuing that.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to approve a recommendation or a motion to approve recommendation for not only the street resurfacing for Midwest Paving, but the contract
Also
with it as well. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
By Mr. Clark. Is there a second?
Second.
By Mrs. Browner. Questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Comments? Thank you, Sri. Comments from administration? Anybody? Nope. Everything's good. Citizen comments? I don't think we have too many here. I do want to comment just from the board standpoint for everyone's effort of really researching the towing and recovery services. I think this has been about a 2-month process, so I feel like we've exhausted every corner, and the best company, Zor, is the one that has been selected, and we look forward to good service from them, and hopefully they'll do a great job for us.
Yeah, thank you for the due diligence.
Correct, for everyone.
And I think the right decision was made, so.
Any other comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Clark, second.
Second.
By Mrs. Browner. Questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.